Desert 1, the rescue mission that died before the fight. Eagle Claw, 1980. 8 Americans died in a battle where the enemy never fired a shot. Not in Tehran, not at the embassy, not in a firefight. They died in the desert, in the dark, inside a rescue mission that collapsed before it ever reached the city. This series is about battles lost to chaos, not brilliant tactics, not heroic last stands, but friction, bad timing, broken coordination, night confusion, and the moment a military system stops making sense. Tonight's story is Operation Eagle Claw, April 1980. The U.S. attempt to rescue hostages from Tehran. And what makes it unforgettable is not just that it failed, it's that the whole plan was beaten by dust, distance, mechanical failure, and one fatal moment in the dark. Start with the pressure. In late 1979, the U.S. Embassy in Tehran is seized. American diplomats and staff are taken hostage. Days turn into months. Negotiations stall. Cameras keep watching. Every sunrise becomes another reminder that the United States still cannot bring its people home. So the answer becomes force. But Eagle Claw is not a normal battle plan. It is a chain. Transport aircraft fly into Iran and land at a remote site called Desert 1. Helicopters fly inland from a carrier and meet them there. The force refuels, moves deeper into Iran, hides by day, then strikes in Tehran the following night. On paper, it looks precise. In reality, it is fragile. If one link breaks, the whole thing starts to die. And before we go deeper, if you want more stories where war falls apart for painfully human reasons, hit like, subscribe, and drop your next battle or disaster in the comments. Because this one is a brutal lesson in how everything can go wrong before the shooting even starts. Desert 1 is not a base. It is not really a runway. It is a lonely patch of desert near a road, flat enough for aircraft, remote enough to gamble on, dark enough to hide in. The first C-130s come in low and hard. Rangers and operators spill out, build a perimeter, and try to turn empty sand into a temporary airfield. Minimal lights, tight timing, no room for noise. Then the desert immediately reminds them that remote does not mean controlled. A bus appears, not an enemy patrol, not Iranian troops. A civilian bus. Its headlights sweep across the darkness and roll straight toward the middle of a secret American operation. The soldiers stop it. The passengers are detained. Instantly, the mission inherits a problem nobody wanted. Civilians trapped inside a covert raid. Then it gets worse. A fuel truck approaches and does not stop. The soldiers react. A weapon is fired. The truck erupts into flames. Suddenly, the night is no longer dark. The desert glows orange. Stealth is already wounded before the helicopters even arrive. Still, that is not what kills the mission. Because Eagle Claw lives or dies with the helicopters. 8 RH-53D Sea Stallions lift from a carrier in the Arabian Sea and head inland. Big machines, heavy machines, not elegant, not forgiving. And now they have to fly deep into hostile territory at night, over desert, on a schedule with almost no margin for trouble. Then the environment joins the fight. A massive dust storm. A haboob moves across their route like a wall. Visibility collapses. Horizons vanish. Instruments become lifelines. Sand hammers the aircraft. Pilots lose depth, spacing, and confidence all at once. This is where chaos really starts, not with panic, but with uncertainty. One helicopter turns back because of warning indicators. Another suffers instrument problems serious enough to make continuation dangerous. Another is forced into an unscheduled landing. Accounts vary on the exact order and exact failure, but the pattern is clear. Before the helicopters even reach Desert 1, the chain is already losing links. Back on the ground, the rescue force waits and watches the clock bleed out, because daylight is coming. And when the surviving helicopters finally stagger into Desert 1, they do not arrive as a clean package. They arrive late, dusty, stressed, and fewer than planned. Now the mission meets its most brutal enemy, math. The operation requires a minimum number of mission-capable helicopters to continue. Drop below that line, and the rescue force cannot move safely into Tehran and back out again. Courage does not matter. Skill does not matter. If the lift is not there, the plan is dead. And this is where psychology becomes dangerous, because by now everyone is paid to be here. Aircraft have crossed borders, civilians have been detained, a truck has burned, hours have been spent in tension. Men are tired, wired, and deep inside Iran. That is when the most poisonous sentence in military history appears. We've come this far, but systems do not care how far you have come. They care whether the next step is survivable. So, commanders assess the aircraft, count what still works, and face the truth. The rescue cannot continue with acceptable odds. The force cannot go forward without gambling everything on an already broken chain. The order comes down, abort. And that is the bitter heart of this story. The battle ends before it begins. The hostages have not been reached. The assault has not been launched. Tehran has not even seen the rescue force. But now comes the most dangerous phase of all, leaving. People hear abort and imagine relief. In reality, aborting a night operation in the desert means rapid movement, fuel transfer, aircraft repositioning, stress, noise, and exhausted men trying to unwind a plan that was never designed to fail this early. At Desert 1, aircraft are parked close. Dust is everywhere. Fuel hoses run across the ground. Big machines are hovering, shifting, repositioning. And here is the killer detail. A helicopter cannot taxi like a plane. It has to hover and drift. In normal conditions, that is hard enough. In a sand-filled night landing zone, it becomes a sensory trap. Rotor wash turns the ground into a brown storm. Depth cues disappear. Shapes blur. The pilot must judge distance and alignment in a world that has almost stopped being visible. The helicopter begins to move. Men nearby wave, sand blasts upward. The aircraft drifts, then the rotor strikes a C-130. And in 1 second, everything becomes fire. The transport is loaded with fuel. The impact turns into a fireball. Flames rip through the landing area. Men run through smoke and heat. Equipment is abandoned. The mission is no longer a rescue. It is survival. 8 Americans are killed. And that is the final humiliation. The operation does not just fail. It fails loudly enough for the world to see. Now, people always want an easy answer here. A fool, a villain, one idiot to pin it on. But the real lesson is uglier than that. Eagle Claw failed because it demanded near perfection from humans, aircraft, weather, and coordination, all at the same time. That is how chaos works. Pilots experience weather, sand, and failing visibility. Ground crews experience spacing, fuel, and timing. Commanders experience numbers, thresholds, and mission viability. Everyone is inside the same operation, but not inside the same reality. Then stress narrows thinking. The brain locks onto the next task. Refuel, move, count, clear, until system-level danger disappears from view. Momentum makes stopping feel weak and continuing feel brave, but bravery is not the same thing as control. That is the system lesson of Desert 1. Redundancy is survival. If losing a few aircraft kills the mission is brittle. Joint operations must be rehearsed until coordination becomes muscle memory. The environment is not background. Dust, darkness, and distance are enemy capabilities. And abort procedures must be drilled as hard as assault procedures, because collapse is often deadliest in transition. After Desert 1, the United States did not just bury its dead. It reworked how special operations were coordinated and trained. Because the disaster exposed the same truth this series keeps returning to. Armies do not only lose to enemy fire, they lose when friction outruns control, when information splits, when confidence survives longer than capability, when the system breaks before the battle even starts. This was Desert 1, Part 7 of Battles Lost to Chaos, a rescue mission built like precision machinery, undone by dust, distance, broken timing, and one fatal moment in the dark. Because sometimes the most dangerous enemy on the battlefield is not the one waiting ahead. It is the moment your own plan stops obeying you.